the main thing was not to let fear stop you.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Welcome to the Talk About the Magic podcast, where you'll find inspiration and encouragement tied together with the magic of Disney. Now, here's your host, Joseph Ballesteros.
What is going on, Magic Cheers? Welcome to another episode of Talk About the Magic. I'm so grateful you decided to join us here today. If it's your first time, welcome. Every Sunday, we do a podcast just like this one where I interview guests and I share their story with you in hopes of encouraging you and inspiring you to get up and get going toward your next goal or dream or passion, whatever it is. I mean, in the end, just get up and move, right? That's the point. So, so I'm excited you're joining me today. A couple changes. If you follow along on talkaboutthemagic.com, you may have noticed there have been some changes to the site, and that is on purpose. I have started to pretty much post every single day, sharing some of the latest news that I'm finding regarding Disney. This is more of a fun thing for me. I love finding all these things out about Disney. I love all the little, news that trickle out every day from Disney and Disney parks and everything like that. So if you're into that as well, wanting to kind of get the latest news, I kind of just pick what I feel is something of value regarding the parks and everything, or to the Disney fan. Be sure to be checking out Talk About the Magic. You can definitely subscribe to the RSS feed. If you have an Apple phone or Android phone and you have a news app, you can actually search Talk About the Magic on there as well and get those updates daily. So you can check that out and see what I'm doing there. Like I said, I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And of course, Sunday's podcast will never change. We are all about inspiration and encouragement at the end of the day. So I'm excited for today's guest. It is Jennifer. She is from the Instagram account is where I first discovered her, and it's called Clarity Magic, at Clarity Magic. And I wanted to bring her on here. It's a little different because for the most of the time we have the guests that are on here are kind of mid stride. They are like they are there. So close, if not already accomplishing the Goer dream that they had set up in front of them. With Jennifer, she's just starting. She just started in April, actually opening the shop. And I wanted to have her on because I wanted to give this unique look on the frustrations that many of us may face when we're starting a new idea, a new project, in particularly those who are getting into selling things on Etsy or their own online store, kind of the idea behind what to expect if you're about to kind of get into those waters. And so I think it's going to be a fun episode. Even if you're not into selling or nothing, I can almost 100% guarantee that you will find something that will be relatable to you from her story. So I really hope you guys will enjoy this episode. As always, if you want to support the show, please share it with a friend or loved one. That is the best way to support the show, hands down, just by sharing it, letting them know that, hey, Talk About the Magic is great and you should check it out. Without further ado, though, let's get into our interview with Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Like I mentioned a little earlier, and like I was talking to you before, and the reason why I kind of really wanted to have you on the show is because we've had the privilege of having so many amazing guests on here who are really into, their stride, I guess you could say, as far as pursuing their passion or their goal or their dream. And first off, you're a fellow Texan. That's always points for me. So
yeah, grew up in San Antonio. So.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so that's always points for me. But the other thing that really caught my attention is you're doing pretty good already with your Etsy shop here with the ears, which we're going to talk about. But you just started I'm going to let you tell the story, but you just started very recently, and that's what excited me because I said, this is a great opportunity for everyone who is on that edge of, do I do it? Do I not do it? They get to really hear kind of this beginning, this beginning steps of going through with pursuing what they want to do here. So before we get into this interview, though, if you could just give a brief background on who Jennifer is.
Okay, so I'm Jennifer. Like I said, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I am Disney obsessed at this point in my life, like most of the Disney community. And I'm a police wife. My husband's a police officer, so I have a lot of that going on too. And we've probably been to the parks, I think, at least 10 times that I can count. My first trip was in 2010, and my husband he was my boyfriend then, and he proposed during Wishes. So
wow.
that was kind of that was the start of my Disney love. I had gone one time to Disneyland a long time ago with someone else, and I don't even remember it at all. So he really introduced me to Disney, thanks to him. It's now an obsession. I'm sure he kind of sometimes wishes he hadn't.
That's awesome.
But
That's
other
awesome.
than that, I'm a nanny. I take care of a 5, 4, and 3-year-old during the week, and I make ears on the weekend. And I have a little fur baby. I have a pug named Clogs. So
Clog?
Clogs, yeah, kind of like
Clogs?
the shoes. Clogs,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a unique name. I like that name. Okay, so
It is. There's a long story to go with it, so I won't tell it, but it's funny.
so like I said, I wanted you on here because you are doing so many things. And what made you kind of start getting the idea of, okay, well, I want to do something different. I want to create these ears, especially because you obviously have a lot on your plate, and you're already thinking about the parks and everything, and there's so many other things you could technically do. What made you actually say, you know what, I want to actually start trying to do these ears here?
So I discovered Disney, and then I bought a couple of like the traditional like hat ears in the parks, and I loved them. And one day I bought a headband set in the parks brand, and they were awful. They gave me the worst headache I've ever had in my life. So I never even worn them. They're really cute. They hang on my wall now. So I thought, oh, well, that stinks. Like, they shouldn't be uncomfortable. They're so cute. And so I started looking, and oh my goodness, there's 1,000 amazing ear shops out there. And I quickly was like, oh, I can't do this. Everyone else is already doing this. So I never pursued it. My husband was like, you should do it. You're crafty. And I was like, no. So then fast forward, Wishes was revealed that it was leaving, and I was heartbroken. I wanted to see it again, and our next trip wasn't going to be until November. So my husband surprised me and said, hey, I'm going to take you for the very last Wishes. And I said, yes. So I immediately started.
Your husband is awesome. Just right there, I got to say, your husband is awesome right there. So that's amazing.
He's amazing.
That's amazing.
He's just as Disney obsessed as I am. But yeah, it was funny because when they said it was ending, I sent him a text with the article, and I was like, oh, we should go again. Haha. Knowing that we already had a big trip planned for November.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way. And then I got home from work that day, and he was like, so
that's awesome.
Like, okay, yes, let's go. So I hopped on Etsy, and I was like, all right, I've seen all these ear shops. I'm gonna get me some ears. So I was looking, and I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. I wanted like clear ears. I found one pair that somebody had used like the round Christmas ornaments, the clear ones. She had used half of it. So they're kind of like a bubble, kind of. I was like, oh, that's kind of what I'm looking for, but not really. I was like, I'm just going to make my own and see how this works. So that's kind of how it started.
So your idea behind it originally was just more out of like wanting something that you didn't find. To kind of because what you said there is exactly how I feel a lot of times when I look at different things, when I get ideas, and that's why I'm glad you said it, because I'm almost 100% positive everybody feels like this once they start getting into thinking about creating something. You see so many other people who have done it longer, they have a name already out, or, maybe already they do it better than you, when you think about how you're going to do it. So it gets intimidating. And so that's good that you were able to discover something that you say, well, you know what, I want to do something a little more unique. So what are some of the things that helped you to create the ears? Like, you're crafty already, which was awesome, but what made you say, okay, I need to figure this out? How many? Because I can only imagine how many mistakes I would have made trying to make something like this. So it's like, what helped you? I mean, did you just watch like YouTube videos? Did you, ask another Etsy owner? How did you kind of get your preparedness for this?
I went for everything. Anything that I'm looking for the answer, I go on Pinterest. So I just like do it yourself ears, and I was like, okay, so, and there's of course all different kinds. There's the fabric ones and the wire ones and the floral ones, and so I went on there and I just started seeing some shop owners and just crafty people that had said like, this is how I made mine. And so of course the ones I'm making, there aren't really anything out there exactly like it. So I went to Hobby Lobby, and I think the first day I spent probably like 4 hours in Hobby Lobby just walking around trying to figure out what I needed to make these ears. Like I had this vision in my head, but I couldn't figure out how to like put it out and make it real. So I walked around and I finally found some material that I was like, oh, I think this will work. And so then I went and I Googled people that sew with this material, and nobody had ever made ears with it. But I was like, okay, well, if they can sew it, for this purpose, then I can do it for this purpose. And I promised the first set of ears I made, my sister-in-law was going to Disneyland, and she told me she wanted Aurora ears. So that was like the first pair that I designed. And I told her ears have so much hot glue on them. They probably weigh like 5 pounds more than my ears that I make now do, because I was like, I don't know how to do this. We'll just hot glue this and hot glue that. And yeah, so, and she actually, I have her picture on my Instagram. So those are actually my very first ears.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that you could see already that, okay, maybe I went a little happy with the hot glue gun, but you had to get it done. And I
was like, add an extra flower. It'll hide the hot glue.
Because that's what I was gonna say. You have to get it done. It's always hard just to make that first step. And it's awesome that she said, "Can you make these for me?" Because obviously that put that little kind of fire to say, "Okay, let me do this." And even though it maybe didn't come out as good as what you're doing now, it was that first step to see what you could change or what you needed to do better. And then, of course, it's always fun to look at your first project just to see, a year from now, you'll be like, what have I done?
I feel like every pair that I make, because I've been making a lot of customs. Everybody wants customs. And I'm like, that's great. Like, it's fun for me to create this idea out of nothing. Yeah. But I learn something new with every single pair that I make. I'm like, oh, that didn't work. Let's try this.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good. So well, okay, being that you're a new shop owner, and I think you kind of did touch on it a little bit with just that. What are some of the frustrations that come across? Like, I'm assuming that you don't tell the person, maybe you do, but I'm just assuming you don't tell the person, hey, I just started and I honestly don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to just kind of wing it. So what are some of the frustrations that you have to conquer, while you're making these ears and sending them out?
The main thing for me, I had never been on Instagram. I had an Instagram account before, my personal one, and I think I had about 12 posts on it. Like I was a Facebook person. That's what high school and college, Facebook was it. So this Instagram thing was totally new to me. So I made my shop one, and oh my goodness, just trying to get people to follow and see my ears and learning how to use Instagram. I'm not even old, and I felt like one of those people that's like, oh, I didn't even know I could do this. So that was that was one. And my husband, he's not a huge, he doesn't do social media at all. So when I'm on it, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's for my shop, I swear. I was like, okay. So for me, that was it. And then just learning what exactly it is I'm doing, how to make it work. I have so many pairs of ears that I've started, and midway I'm like, nope, scrap that, let's start over.
That's I think the other thing that, especially for the beginners, we have to face and kind of get frustrated, because we are buying these things, you do buy kind of the frame, you are, creating this, and then of course you're using your actual time. So in that in itself can get frustrating, just that you realize I've just spent, 2 hours doing this, and it's not going to come out the way I hoped. I have to start from scratch. So definitely can understand that kind of frustration. So then, how much, because I just realized we never actually said it. When did you start your shop? I love the day you started your shop. When did you actually start your shop?
So I opened my actual Etsy shop for people to shop from on April Fool's Day. It was down to the wire, 9:00 at night. But I was like, I am open. I wanted it to be a day that I would remember. So,
and then I think it's great too, because when people are if something was to happen and people were like, what happened with your shop? You'd be like, it was just a joke. It was April Fool's. What are you talking about?
Yeah, just kidding. It didn't work out.
So, being that you opened...
And then I actually started designing the ears, probably maybe mid-January, early February. Some the actual just concept, trying to sketch it out, which I am a horrible sketch person. So that in itself was a task.
That brings so much comfort to all of us other horrible sketch persons as well. So that's good. That means you can still do it if you are terrible at sketching.
I tell tell people, they'll ask if they can see like a sketch if it's a custom order. I'm like, I can sketch it out for you, but I swear it's gonna look like a 5-year-old drew it. But I promise I can craft them. Like I can do this.
So, being that you started on April 1st when you opened the shop, how many ears did you actually put up as far as to sell on there?
I had, I believe, 4 designs that I had made one of each of those designs and then posted them and said, like, I can make them if you order them. 'Cause you never know. That's another frustration. You never know what they're going to like or what they're not going to like. So I was like, I don't want to make 5 of each of these ears. And people will be like, no, we don't like those.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. And
I
now,
have Aurora and Rapunzel, Moana, and one other pair. I can't remember.
and now you have, I believe, 14. So you've been busy, which is awesome.
I have, yeah. And then there's several I've done custom that I just don't even have listed because I'm like, oh, that was just one person wanted those. If someone else wants them, I'll make them again.
And like, I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, oh, the Texas ears. I mean, I wouldn't wear them, but maybe for my wife. But
Yeah, and I have an idea. I haven't even started it, but I want to start hats, like the dad hats, but with my clear ears on them, so that I have a guy option or a girl option that wants shade on her face.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
I haven't been tested it yet, so but it's on the books to try it.
Awesome. So then, from when you started, how much has your mind changed? Because being that, when you first started, obviously this was brand new to you. You were concerned about obviously so many other people doing it, and of course you're not even sure if you were going to do a good job or anything like that. But how much has your mindset changed from when you actually started to where you are now at already 14 and doing really good considering you just opened, so recently? It's impressive. It's awesome. So how much has your mind, changed from when you started?
So the main thing I've had to tell myself is I can't compare myself to other shops because there's another shop that opened, I think the same, maybe a week after me. And I'm like, oh my God, she's selling so much more than me. She has a completely different and also very unique product. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, how come she's doing so well and I'm not? And so that was the main hurdle to get over. You can't compare yourself. Like, I just have to accept I am getting orders and I'm doing very well, much, much better than I thought I was going to. I thought nobody was going to like them. I was like, oh, I'll have ears for myself to wear at least. So that was probably the thing. And then also that I don't have to give away the house, because when you open a new shop, people see it and they like it and they want it for free.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, yes. So I was like, oh, I need to do this. I need to send them for years and then it'll get me out there. And yes, that does happen. Like, it's great. But you don't have to do that for every person that sends you a message. Like, So I quickly connected with a really great girl on Instagram, and she became my brand rep, which I didn't even know that was a thing before. And we hit it off immediately. And she was like, look, people are going to start messaging you and want free stuff. And you don't have to say yes. And I was like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But it did. So she was right. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was I was like, okay, now I know, like, I can say yes when I want to say yes, or when I have time to say, yeah, I'll get you a pair. But it's at my leisure. That's
one of the most valuable things I've ever heard when it comes to Etsy. I've never heard that before. And I read a ton of articles. I try to get as much information about all the different kind of niches that are or niches, however you want to say it, that are opening up. And that's incredible. And that I hope any of you, Magic Cheers listening that are on this verge of barely starting Etsy shop, pay attention to that, because I think even more so, Jennifer just laid a huge tip on us to really understand that may happen, and you don't have to feel obligated to do that. So that's great, because I wouldn't have expected that at all, and I can only imagine, unfortunately, how many people kind of burn themselves out just giving free stuff away, never getting any kind of,
that's money out of your pocket.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the other thing, it's just really like, I knew the Disney community was amazing before. Like, when you go to Disney and you connect with people and it's awesome, but being a part of a shop and having, like, being on Instagram now, it's crazy. Like, people are so nice, and like, they'll just send me random stuff in the mail. Like somebody sent me a little Tsum Tsum because she knew I like Stitch. And I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. Like,
That's
I was like,
awesome.
it is. It's really, and I wasn't like, I didn't make her ears. It was just like, hey, I know we talked and you said you like this and I got it and I don't want it. So here it is. And I was like, oh, okay. It's just everybody, like Disney is all about the magic. And a lot of the Disney like community is just really good at sharing that magic. Like they leave a little sparkle behind them. And I'm like, oh, I love this.
Yeah, that's that. They are amazing people. I love doing the show just for that reason, being able to talk to all of you guys who are listening, and of course the guests. When you guys come on, it's awesome because I get to meet so many different people and find out so much of who they are, and that's what I love. I love to understand because where people come from, because it shows how relatable we are. You know what I mean? There's so many things we find. And that's one thing that I always try to bring up about Walt, because we put him, and probably rightfully so, on a very high pedestal when we think about things. But I love, I love reading all of his, autobiographies about him and everything like that, his biographies about him. But because it showed a real person. I mean, Walt went through, issues financially, through his family, through his business, that for a lot of us, it would have just made us buckle down and just quit. And I think that's what we can take, the understanding that he went through real life stuff, just like we're going through real life stuff, but he chose to keep going, just like we should keep going. So that's great. So you kind of already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What would you then suggest for people who are getting into their own kind of Etsy e-commerce style? What would be some suggestions you would give them?
First off, go on Pinterest and search starting an Etsy shop, because there's so many well-written articles about the best tips and tricks in photography and those kind of things. That's where I got a lot of my stuff from. And then just social media. You have to have a social media presence, or it's just not going to take off. You have to have people that see your stuff and pass it on to their friends that they know will like it, and otherwise it's not going to go anywhere. And then probably the most important is don't let the fear of failure stop you, because that was mine. I've wanted to do ears for years, and here I am just a couple of months into it, because I was always like, no, there's other people that make ears. I'll just let them make them and be done with it. So.
Well, that's awesome. And you've kind of touched on the very last question. So, Jennifer, you're killing it, Jennifer. It's awesome. All right.
I'm good.
Well, now it's time to get into our power round. Disney Power Round.
Okay.
And now it's time for the Disney Power Round, where we talk favorite parks, tips, and tricks for your magical Disney trip. Let's bibbity-bobbity do this.
That's my favorite part of your show. I love it.
Awesome. All right, so here we go. What is your favorite park, and what is one thing you love about it?
That's the hardest question that you've asked this whole time. So mine is almost a tie. I love Magic Kingdom. It was kind of my first. That was the first park I went to with my husband, and he proposed during Wishes. But I also love like Disneyland Resort. So they're kind of the same, but kind of different. So they're both my favorites. But Disneyland Resort, the main thing I love is that history that's there. Like that Walt was walking on these streets, and he stood there, and there's a picture of him standing there, and I'm like, just the history behind it. So that's my favorite. It has my heart.
All right. That's good. So what would be your tip for the first time Disney goer?
We give a lot of advice to family and friends, because we've gone so many times. So every time someone wants to go, they're like, hey, message me some tips and tricks. And I'm like, oh no, we need to have like a 6-hour dinner. But the main thing is, like, if it's their first time, they need to know it's a vacation. Like, don't stress yourself out trying to hit every ride and meet every character and pull your poor crying children behind you, because I don't know how many times I've seen that. Yeah. And it's just like, you're on vacation, be happy, like set a goal. We want to do these 3 things for sure, and then anything after that is bonus. Like, don't kill yourself trying to do it all, because you're never going to do it all. We've been 10 times and there's still so many things we've never done.
Yeah, that is so true. And again, first time listeners, this is what I've said from when we first visited in 2014 as a family. It was my first time taking the family in 2014. I had been there, previously, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was such a. I was so shocked because I thought everything was going great, and my wife just looked at me after the trip and said, "We will never go back again if I plan it. If I
Oh,
ever plan,
oh my God.
if I ever have to plan it again." I was so like, oh my, and it was a bad move on my part.
Yeah.
She's a well organized person. She's the one who kind of is the one who will break down everything, follow everything, but giving her the Disney World project and not having any kind of understanding of what it is, what it's like, or anything, and just telling her I want to do this and this and this. Like, it was just a big, big no on my part. I did a terrible job with that. So the next year after that, we got with an agent who actually has been with us ever since, and she has done an amazing job. Catherine, awesome. But okay, so yeah, she does an amazing job, and ever since then, it just becomes a like you just said, a vacation where we say we're not gonna see that this year. It's okay. We're gonna enjoy this
We'll
other
see on
part.
the next trip.
Exactly. And we say well,
That's the
so
best part.
yeah, and so like for us this year, we decided to completely skip the parks, and we're making our trip to the Disney cruise. It's our first Disney cruise. And we did that
Oh,
kind of
I want to try so bad.
well, that's the thing. We did it kind of intentionally because I think like a year ago, 2 years ago, there was a little bit of a scare because they were saying that they were going to be going away from Galveston. They weren't going to be.
Yes.
So when that happened, we're like, oh my goodness, we'll never get to go, and now we have to go fly all the way to Florida. But when it came back, we got serious about it, and then with everything that was happening with the changes of Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, the last time we went in 2015 and 2016, sorry. Hollywood Studios, like half the park is shut down because of all of the things that are changing. So we said, all right, this will be the year. So, but I agree 100%. You gotta understand it still is a vacation, and you can enjoy it. While you're gonna be tired when you come home, there's no doubt about that. But
You need a vacation from your vacation.
Exactly. But it is about having that fun. So, what would be then your tip for someone who goes to Disney multiple times?
I think I've heard a lot of people say this on your show, but do something different. Like this last trip that we did, our wishes trip, it was really short. We tried normally to go for 7-9 days. We like a long trip, and we could only go for. I think we were there for 3 whole days and 2 half days on our travel days, and we just kind of flipped the script. Like we usually always go to Magic Kingdom first. Like that's our first park, and this trip we didn't, and it was like so strange. We were walking around Animal Kingdom like, what are we doing? I haven't even seen the castle yet.
Wow.
So
yeah.
just to do it different, and just try something out of the parks. We say that we're going to do that every trip. Like we're going to have one day where we don't even go in a park, and it's yet to happen. But maybe one day, we just love Disney parks too much.
Yeah, no, you can't go without going. Like, no, I mean, I think, yeah, you can't. You'll be angry at yourself. Yeah.
I can't even go like in the state of Florida and not go into a Disney park. Like if I'm stepping foot over that line, I need to get in Disney.
Exactly right. Especially for how far we have to drive, or fly. How much we have to pay to fly to get there? No way.
Yes.
Now, and I like what you said too. That's the first. I love having first. Try something different. But you said it first in the way you said it, which was even starting out with a different park. That's so true. For us, we always go to Magic Kingdom. That's the number one park we do first and foremost. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, we always at Magic Kingdom, and we always end at Magic Kingdom. So it was very weird not to do that this trip.
So that's a really great idea. And yes, you might regret it, but in the end, at least you did something different. So that's a really good idea. I like that. So before we do get into our closing question, though, Jennifer, if you could please give your information out, let everybody know where they can find you, let them know where your shop is. Of course, I'll put it in the show notes, but go ahead and say it here.
So on Facebook, Etsy, and Instagram, it's all the same. It's Clearly Magic. That was probably the hardest part of my shop, was coming up with a darn name for it. But I finally got it because my ears are clear if you haven't seen them yet. So Clearly Magic worked. But it's all 3 of those are the same. I somehow lucked out and nobody had any of those.
I was about to say that is a very hard thing to do. So congratulations on getting everything in the same name.
I changed the name like 5 times until I finally settled on that. And I was like, oh, they're all available. It's like fate And then my email, that was already taken. So it's clearly magicears@gmail.com.
Oh, that's good too. That's not that bad.
Yeah. So it still works. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Okay, so thank you so much. And guys, please be sure to check it out. Her ears are definitely unique. They are clear, like she was saying. And especially if you're from Texas, I do like those Texas ones. So you got to check that out.
Oh, I know. That was my sister-in-law also. She requested Aurora, her favorite princess, and then she wanted Texas ears. I was like, okay.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I that's definitely unique, and I haven't seen something like that. So soon you'll be getting Spurs and
I have.
Oh, you have
already. I have. Yeah, I had a friend that went, and she was like, her and her wife went, and she said, I want Aladdin and Jasmine, but she wants Spurs. Can you do that? I was like, oh heck yeah, I can do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. That's so cool, and I think that's what I love about. And what I'm sure millions of people love about Etsy is because it does give you kind of a unique opportunity to speak to the creator one-on-one to say, hey, I have an idea. Can you do this for me? Because obviously you cannot find Disney Spurs ears at the Disney parks.
Disney. Oh.
That's awesome.
I've searched.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's just too many. So that's great that, there's people like you guys who are able to create this kind of stuff. So guys, again, like Jennifer was saying, she does do customs, so please be sure to reach out to her, find out what kind of ears, that you want and see maybe she can do it. And don't judge her by her sketches. That's important. She can.
Yes.
So before we do sign off,
at
before we do sign off here, though, I do want to give you some time just to kind of give some words of advice. And you like I said, you're killing it. You kind of answered this awesomely already a little before, but I still want to give you some time here just to give some words of advice, some wisdom that you'd like to leave with Magic Cheers.
Okay. So, and I kind of peppered my wisdom throughout, but I wrote this down on my notes. Awesome. Was the main thing was not to let fear stop you. It's gonna be there in the back of your mind. Every time I finish like a batch of orders, I think to myself, all right, well, that was a good run. Shop's over now. Nobody else is ever going to order ears again. And then sure enough, I come around, I get like a ding, and somebody wants ears. I'm like, yay. So don't let fear stop you. And then the other thing is, if you have a well-made, unique product, people will want it. But you have to put the work into it. You have to, before I bought the headbands, I literally walked around Walmart with the darn headbands on my head for about an hour. So I was like, I want these to be comfortable. That was my main thing. Like, I don't want people to put my ears on and say, oh, these hurt my head, I have a headache, and then take them off. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, these work. So that's it. Don't let fear stop you, and make sure the product is good and people will come, I promise.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today. It was a blast having you on. And before we do sign off here, I did this with LJ last week. I want to do it again this week because I think it's fun. I think it makes more fun. So I would like for you to give off the sign-off phrase. So I'm going to just say, have a great night, day, week, whenever you're listening to this. And as always, and then you just can say, stay magical. Okay?
Okay.
Pretty easy. All right. So Magic Cheers, thank you so much again, though, for listening, guys. And be sure to reach out to Jennifer. Check out everything she has there with the Etsy store. I want you guys to have a awesome, nice, wonderful night, day, weekend, whenever you're listening to this. And as always,
stay magical.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you.
This was the Talk About the Magic podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay magical.